Welcome to Childcare Conversations, the podcast where early childhood leaders like you get real-world strategies, honest talk, and a whole lot of support. Whether you're running one center or many, we're here to help you lead with confidence and clarity. This episode is brought to you by this quarter's sponsor, Playground, the all-in-one childcare management software. We're all about managing monkeys and saving you time at your center. With this platform, you can. We're proud to partner with a team that's as committed to your success as we are. Learn more at tryplayground.com. Now, let's get into today's conversation, one we think you're really going to love.
Carrie?
What?
I hear that sometimes directors have superpowers.
I mean, yes, they're all superheroes.
Well, I hear that there's this one superpower, your emotional intelligence. Tell me more.
Well, not all of them have that one. So, emotional intelligence is that whole how well you do at reading other people's social cues and giving them positive feedback. It's emotional awareness, I guess. It's got self-awareness and empathy and the ability to regulate. And so, since we talk about co-regulation so much in early childhood education, I really think that EQ, which is what people call it, or EI, I like EQ, is really important in any caregiving industry. So whether they're nurses or teachers or hopefully a director, dentists, people who should be able to have some emotional connection and get the clue when somebody else is uncomfortable.
Okay, so why does that matter in early childcare?
Because children don't have good words. They don't know how, and so many teachers say, use your words when they're talking to kids who have lost their mind. And here's the thing. If they had words available to use, they would have done it. They don't got any words right now. That's why they threw the Tonka truck at the other kid's head. They don't have it.
Because they don't know the words. I mean, one of my favorite children's books I remember reading was actually by Jamie Lee Curtis. And it was all about basically putting those words down, because I think what happens a lot of times is kids that then grow up to be adults only know like 6 words to describe how they're feeling.
Oh, I was sure you were going to do the one by Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, what, the Green Lights or his kids' book?
Oh, no, his kids' book.
I haven't read the kids' book, but...
Oh,
okay.
You've got to. And you can go watch it on YouTube of him and one of the Jimmies, I don't remember which one of the talk show Jimmies, doing it as kind of a sing-song, the whole book. It's hilarious.
All right, so on today's to-do list...
I thought I'd sent that to you.
No, but here's the thing. How can having this awareness help you as a director? And then I want to follow up with, how can that hurt you as a director?
It hurts you by caring too much for everybody else, and you get emotionally burned out. I mean, I think that's the shorter answer than how does it help you. I think the being too attached to your staff and to your children and to their outcomes can be a huge problem, because you burn yourself out. And every time a child withdraws from the program because their parents are moving across the country, you go on a crying jag for 20 minutes. That's a sign that that's not good EQ. That is that you are overly attached.
I think it also is that you're taking it personal. So one of my favorite analogies, and again, don't know whoever told it to me originally, because I've been using it now for over 30 years, which is, if you think about that waitress, all right, and you're at a restaurant and you have French fries, and the waitress comes out and asks you if you want ketchup with that French fries. And if you're not a ketchup person and you want cane sauce, but you're not at Cane's, or
you want the vinegar that my husband wants.
Yeah, you want malted vinegar. if you say no to her ketchup, she doesn't go back to the kitchen and start crying because you didn't want her ketchup. It wasn't what you needed. And I think one of the things, because you brought up being too emotionally attached, I think that it can also hurt you on another end, which is if you don't have that. So in other words, maybe you can be aware, maybe you can show the empathy, but there's no attachment, whether it's because of things from your past, maybe it's how you perceive being in charge. You don't make connections with parents or with staff, like you just don't get personal.
Yeah.
I think that you brought up a great point, which is not actually the one I was thinking, because if you had asked me, I would have said, well, no, how it's going to hurt you is you don't have it.
Oh, because to me, it was like, it can't hurt you it was, if you have it, what are the downsides? So yeah, if you don't have good emotional intelligence, you have a hard time making a connection, making people trust you. Like, people have to trust you in order for them to want to bring their children to you, in order for them to want to come to work every day. And if you aren't showing emotional availability and connection, then you've got people who are like, not going to that program.
But couldn't that be a fine line? Like,
I don't think it's very fine. I think it's kind of like a highway-sized line.
Well, I'm thinking about, when I started as a director, I tried so hard to make all those connections. I almost forced to them. And then I thought I did a bad job as, a leader or a manager if people left because I had gotten so attached and I took it personally. And then I kind of went the opposite side of the road. Like I dodged everything and I'm like well past Frogger. And so now, especially in that kind of scenario, because I have been accused of treating employees like my children because they're the same age as my young adult children. And so now it's like trying to figure out that whole, at what level do you care and get attached? And I think that's a realistic acknowledgement. I think that's part of the self-awareness, right? So there is a definite self-awareness of that. And even early, before the overcompensate, I was over aware that, can't use that word on this podcast.
Some people have said that you're cold.
Yes. Okay. There we go. We'll use that term. That was not the term I had in my head.
But, and I had periods of my life where I was everybody's confidant. Everybody brought me all of their problems. And I've probably overcorrected the other direction. And, now I think my kids are the only ones who really bring me their emotional problems. And they're biologically required to. So I think part of having good EQ, a good emotional quotient, a good emotional intelligence is that self-awareness that I was over-indexing on being there to support other people to the point where it was draining to me. And I had to go on strike. I had to be like, I will take nobody's monkeys. I will take nobody's emotional issues. I will not solve anybody's emotional issues. And I had to go on strike for 2 weeks and just find myself where were the edges of what my emotions were as opposed to other people's emotions. And so that self-awareness part is key, but so is the empathy. So we have to be thinking about what is in the best interest of the kid. What is in the best interest of that staff person? And sometimes what's in the best interest of that staff person is for them to go bye-bye because we're no longer a good fit for them. They're just here because they've been here and they know how to do the job. But it is very clear that their interests are no longer aligned with the program. And we have a friend, Erica, who has told multiple of her employees, if you don't start your business in the next 90 days, I'm going to fire you. Because it was in their best interest to start that business that they were wanting, that they kept pining after, they kept thinking about. And she was like, you can keep working here and start that business, or you can start that business because I've fired you. And people are like, what? She's making people start another business? And it's because of her emotional intelligence. And she knows that that's what they need as their next step in their life. And that's the empathy part of the emotional intelligence.
So I want to jump on something real quick that I know we talk about it a lot, right? We talk about co-regulation, and it is something that in the industry we're always like, oh, you need to teach the children. How, as a director, can you model this emotional regulation to the staff to model to the children? Like, how might that look in a program?
I think part of that is telling people when you've messed up and saying, I tried this new thing. Y'all didn't like it, and it did not work. And I threw a tantrum about it for about 15 minutes. And, so literally telling people, I got upset, and this is how I got myself out of that situation. I think also literally them seeing you do it. Like, you walk into a classroom where the class is out of control. The kids it may be happy chaos, but it is definitely chaos. And them seeing you go, take a deep breath in, look at the ceiling, take a deep breath out before coming into that classroom. Because you had a knee-jerk reaction, which is, we need to get this room under control. But you took the time to regulate yourself and go, this is happy chaos. We can have happy chaos as long as that's not all day, every day. And so they need to physically see you doing it. And also, I think the troubleshooting social conflict between staff is a place where we can really model the regulation and the helping other people re-regulate. Because when you've got two staff that are mad because that person isn't pulling their weight in the classroom, or because this person always leaves this thing in disarray, or whatever, those always and never conversations that your teachers have, if you bring them into the office and you have them troubleshoot that social conflict with you there as a mediator, I think that's one of the best ways to really show your ability to re-regulate other people. And it comes back to that empathy, and it comes back to that self-knowledge. Like, I think the troubleshooting social conflict between your team members is one of the most important places for EQ to show up. Because what I see that really worries me is the directors who just change who's working in a classroom when people are disagreeing. Yeah. Like, they do not help the people get through the conflict. They treat them like they're in the second grade and these two kids are fighting all the time, so we just are going to reassign one of them to Miss Thompson's classroom.
This is where you hear people make those snide comments like, be a grown-up, or just, get over it, or something like that. So I'm thinking...
Which is not good emotional intelligence.
No, but I am thinking, as I'm listening to us talk, of, if you're listening to this episode, I want you to pause it, go get a piece of paper, come back with your notebook, because every director I know is always trying to figure out what to cover in a staff meeting. You're always trying to come up with that next staff training. And to me, this last 10 minutes, take notes on, even share the last 10 minutes, pause it and have your staff discuss it and share what does it mean to them and what maybe are their examples. And do they have a scenario that maybe you guys could walk through as a school, because you have that one kid, or maybe it's one family. So maybe there's a kid in multiple classes.
No, a family in multiple classes.
A family in multiple classes. So each class has a child from that family that they're just that family, right? And you've tried every polite way to help them find another program. So now you're forced to have to, quote unquote, deal with it. And so is there a way to use this experience in a set of staff meetings, or a staff meeting, where everybody gets to practice. And not only do they get to practice, they know exactly what child, what's the next situation, whether it's the throwing the Tonka toys, whether it's knocking and kicking down somebody's block tower, whatever it might be. And really use that as a great way to go, haha, I've got this. I can do this now because I've heard a little bit of a discussion. I've talked about and shared a scenario, and then I got to practice. And this is such a great way to do staff training.
I mean, I think that's absolutely true. And I think it's one of the things that we try to do in our training membership is not every month, but several times throughout the year, give an outline of this is how you would use this in a staff meeting. So we have we're teaching you content. So in the 2025 group, there was the how to get children ready for toilet learning, right? That was one of the modules, was all about toilet learning. And so the part for the director was, what are the systems that you need to set up? What are the things that you need to see that a child is ready? And then it had parent letters, and then it had, this is an outline of how we do a staff training on how do we do toilet learning, so that it's not just the teacher who's been here for a year and a half having to get everybody else on board. It is the floater. It is anybody who is likely to substitute in that classroom and the core teachers in that classroom going through a training on, this is our system for how we're going to help kids through toilet learning.
Okay, so I just want to do an abbreviated explanation. So Carrie talked about our training membership. So if you are in Texas, TexasDirector.org has a membership where you get your annual training. You can renew your director credential. We have this available in other states. So when you visit the website, go to the About Us page, you can find the other states. If you're not really sure and you're kind of curious whether or not we have it in your state, or if you can participate, we will take anybody from anywhere. Just email us at kateandcarrie@childcareconversations.com. Okay, so I just wanted to do that because Carrie kind of zipped over that, and I'm like, but it's not on Child Care Conversations, and not everybody understands. We talk about the fact that we have a lot of businesses and we do a lot of stuff, and our businesses are all related. So if you don't know, I'm going to do a short other plug.
Okay.
Carrie and I do write books. So most of you know that we've written 8 books in the child care field, 9 books together, and total 25. And we help other directors, early childhood professionals write books. Some are in the industry, some are not in the industry, some are just their passion or their story. And we love being able to do that. And then we have the podcast.
And then we have the training where we do training across the country at conferences. We love to do a keynote at companies or at childcare conferences. We also do, regular workshops. But the training membership is just something we do with the different states, Texas director, New Mexico director, etc. So, but I guess I kind of squirreled. I did not mean to.
That's okay. I love it. It still was really helpful. And I do think that, and I'm just going to kind of wrap us up down this rabbit hole that we've taken, which is how to do some staff training that are relevant to issues that you've got going on.
Right. And that the reason I was talking about toilet learning is because that is such an emotionally fraught conversation. Oh. There are parents who feel like you are saying they're a bad parent when you say, I'm sorry, your child's not ready for being part of the potty patrol.
But not only that, the kids, when they have emotional issues, that is one of the things that they no longer control.
Yeah. When you've got kids who are stressed out because there's been a change in their household, then you end up with toilet learning, backsliding, and things like that. So that's why I was talking about that. And we didn't get all the way into where I was going, but that's okay. I just picked it as a topic where EQ is hugely important, but we don't necessarily talk about it. We just talk about the procedures of this is the song we're going to sing when we're taking the kids on potty patrol.
You know what? You brought up a good point, and again, I'm going to tie that back to that staff component, which is those conversations with parents and how sometimes the parents think you're telling them that you did something wrong. And again, that comes back to the EQ, the EI, whatever, the emotional piece. And I think as a director, one of your jobs is to make sure that your teachers are ready to have those parent conversations that are the difficult conversations. So here is an idea for a second staff training or staff meeting, which is having the difficult conversations with parents. And you could almost make this part of every staff training and every staff meeting related to whatever the subject is. So if you were doing a staff meeting or a staff training specifically on toilet learning, taking a section on having those difficult conversations, because communication is key. You're only going to be successful in this job if you've learned to communicate all of the awkward, difficult conversations with staff, with parents, and with children.
Yep. I was like, is she going to say kids? Because she better say kids.
I am definitely going to say kids.
Okay. We have gone over what we normally do. I just want to say, I really hope that you think about emotional intelligence as a director as you're moving forward. So if you've learned something from this show, please share it with someone else who needs to know, whether that's in a staff meeting or somewhere else. And please go in and leave us a comment about what you thought about this episode. We read every single one of those, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. We love bringing you real talk and fresh insight from the world of early childhood education. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all of the latest episodes. And if you're planning a conference, training, or special event, Kate and Carrie would love to speak to your audience. You can learn more about their keynote sessions and workshops at kateandcarrie.com. If you learned something today, share the show and leave us a review below. We'll see you next time on Childcare Conversations.